Hi, and welcome to another edition of CrimeWatch. I'm your host, Officer Joe Horn. We're going to talk today about bicycle safety and also bicycle routes that we're putting in through Garland. If you'll notice, if you've been in the downtown part of Garland recently, we've got marked off lanes on Glenbrook that start around Avenue B and go to Miller Road. It's part of a program that is expanding through Garland this year in 2013 that starts at the north part of town, Richardson, around Arapahoe Road, goes to the south part of town off of Duck Creek into Mesquite. One of the things we're going to talk about today is not only bicycle safety, but also driver safety when coming around bicycles, what drivers are supposed to do, how they're supposed to yield the bicycles, and what laws that bicycles have to go through. Joining us today is Officer Robert Duncan, who's with the Neighborhood Police Officer Group. Not only is trained to ride bicycles on duty, but also does a lot of bicycle riding on his off time with different bicycle groups, and has put in a couple thousand miles already this year. Robert, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate it. One of the things we want to talk about first is the simple things when you're getting ready to ride a bicycle. And I know a lot of people will jump on bicycles and just go ride without any safety equipment. Tell us what you do safety-wise before you go ride.
Well, the first thing you always want to do is you want to make sure your bike is safe to ride. Make sure you have air in your tires. Make sure your brakes are working. Make sure your chain is working properly. If those three things aren't working, that's just an accident waiting to happen. You also got to make sure your body is ready. You have to be hydrated. You have to have safety equipment on. Helmets, the most important safety feature as far as riding on a bike. If you have a wreck, either your fault or by an accident, by a car hitting you, the helmet could save your life. You're going to get road rash from your arms and legs, but the helmet is going to save you and potentially keep you alive.
I have 3 helmets here. One says curb, one says dog, and one says a car, automobile. The one that says dog was my first accident. I was riding in my neighborhood in Garland, a few blocks from my house, and the last thing I remember, a dog was playing in front of my bicycle wheel. Apparently, I hit the dog, endoed, hit the ground. I had my helmet on. The helmet is cracked and shows cracks and breaks on the inside where I fell, hit on my temple. It knocked me out cold. I was laying in the middle of the street for I don't know how long, and some lady came by and called the emergency people. I had a concussion, and there's no doubt in my mind if I had not had this helmet on, I would have some type of serious brain injury or probably not be alive. So the helmet saved my life. This is my helmet that says car. I was riding down the street on my bicycle. An automobile came by. The driver apparently did not see me, did an illegal left-hand turn, clipped my front wheel, and hit the ground. My helmet has a crack in it. Again, the helmet saved me from serious injury or possibly my life. This helmet says curb. I was riding with a group. I turned the corner a little too quickly. I was going fairly fast, hit the curb, fell over in the grass, and my helmet has a crack in it where it saved me one more time. We definitely believe in helmets here at Don Jolie's Bike World.
So you're equipped, you're ready to ride, and a lot of times I think you ride with groups.
Yes.
One of the things, tell us some of the things that you see from drivers that's maybe either the driver inattention or not realizing the difference in speed as you're coming up, but some of the things that you've seen drivers do that we could tell the folks when they are driving and approaching bicycles, what's some of the safety tips we can give them?
The first one is most obvious is be observant of what's going on around you. If you see a cyclist, slow down because they're going to be going considerably slower than you are. Most bicyclists, if they're riding in groups, are between 15 to 20 miles per hour. If you're in a car in the same area, you're probably going to be going between 40 to 50 miles per hour, depending on what the speed limit is in the specific area you're at. be observant. Know that you're going to be approaching them a lot faster than you think you are. So give enough room and prepare to be able to move over before you actually get to them. Don't wait until the last second and then try to wedge over and have an accident on another car that's next to you, therefore knocking you into the cyclist as well, or potentially running over the back of the cyclist.
Right.
I'm Michael McNair and live in Garland. Have been commuting by bicycle for about 8 years now. Work in Irving, so I put a lot of miles on the old bike every week. Really excited with the advances that not just Garland, but all the towns around here are making in putting in some bicycle infrastructure. I think the biggest gain that cyclists see from that is drivers just being aware. They put a bicycle lane in on one street, the cyclist 2 streets over is going to feel a benefit from that, because then people who drive down that street and see the bicycle lane on a regular basis are just more aware. When you're in a car and you're passing a cyclist, imagine that you're there, on a bicycle and you're pedaling along. You've got nothing around you to protect you. You've got your helmet, perhaps gloves, whatnot, but you don't have steel around you like you do in a car. Imagine a car almost brushing you. Imagine when you're in your car and someone almost clips you, how freaked out you get. Imagine that if you're sitting there pedaling along on a bicycle and someone's mirror, whoosh, whizzes past your ear. Some states actually have it a 3-foot passing law, where when you pass a cyclist, you have to move over 3 feet. Now that doesn't apply here. We don't have that law, but that's still a really good idea.
And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this show today, is to let you be aware that we are increasing the bike lanes through Garland and the things to expect. For the most part, we don't see a lot of group of bicyclists in the southern and middle part of town. We do in the north part of town, but we feel like with these new bicycle lanes and bicycle routes, it's going to increase throughout the city. So we want you, as you're driving, to be aware of that and know that in other cities, we are expanding so that there's going to be riders that are coming in from Plano, Richardson, south and into Mesquite. So be aware of that, and the safety tips, safety things that you can do preparing yourself as you're driving a car through the city.
One thing that I'd like to say to motorists is when you do come upon a bicyclist who is driving their bicycle predictably and they are visible, that may not be the most convenient. So bicyclists have learned through painful experience that the safest place to be on the road may not be in the right gutter. When the lane width is 12 feet or less, the safest place for a bicyclist most of the time, when they're just driving their bicycle straight ahead, is right smack in the middle of the lane. Now that may seem arrogant or rude, but when it's related to a bicyclist's personal safety, they're going to occupy that lane, and in fact state law says that they are entitled to that lane. And when it is safe to pass, by all means, please pass the bicyclists in a safe way, giving them plenty of distance. Bicyclists out there, you're already, most of you already have a bit of apprehension, if not outright scared. That can cause an emotional response to something, and you can overreact. So all waves are 5-fingered, and when you can, release the lane. In other words, if you've taken control of the lane, like I mentioned earlier, by the bicyclist going right down the middle of a 12-foot lane because that's where they're safest, if traffic starts to stack up behind you, as soon as you can reasonably, in your own safety, release that lane so that people can pass you safely, please do so. The other surrounding communities in the Metroplex do not have a mandatory helmet law. However, whenever you ride, always wear a helmet.
And Robert, a couple of things that motorists think that are not educated on bicycles and that sort of thing is that, well, why don't they ride on the sidewalks? Why do we not ride on the sidewalks?
Well, a bicycle is a vehicle, so it has to follow all traffic laws just like a car would or a truck would. Cyclists have to be on the road. A sidewalk is for pedestrian vehicle or foot traffic, not for a vehicle, which is what a bicycle is.
Okay.
A sidewalk is called a sidewalk because it's for walking. It's not for cycling. It's not the safest place for a cyclist to be. In regard to, and people have made the argument that, well, you may be in more danger of, to a pedestrian, but yourself, you're more safe. You're not, because on a sidewalk, when someone is coming to turn into a side street, they're looking for traffic coming the other way on that side street or on that street. They aren't looking for someone who's coming at 15 to 20 miles an hour on the sidewalk coming at them. And so that's where you end up with a really bad conflict there, and a dangerous situation is what that turns into, especially at intersections and at driveways. So that's why it is safest for a cyclist to be on the road. And so then again, have also had people yell, you're supposed to be riding over by the curb. Well, again, that's not the safest place to be. The safest place to be is in the most visible place you can be, which is out away from the curb.
And when we say they have to obey the laws, in fact, officers, and I think you have actually written tickets to bicyclists when you would stop, maybe warn them they didn't think they had to go over the laws, and you'd end up writing them a ticket. Is that correct?
I've done numerous stops on bicyclists for education mainly, because cyclists have the same responsibilities that drivers do. Okay. If you're on the bike, you have to think of your vehicle or your bike as a vehicle. You have to stop at stop signs. You have to stop at red lights. You have to make your signals, even hand signals. You have to use hand signals to make turns. So when I see cyclists doing it illegally, it's my responsibility as an officer to stop them and make them aware of what they're doing wrong.
Okay. And while we're talking about that and some of the laws that we have to go by, and you mentioned doing hand signals, tell us what you need to do when if you're getting ready to make a right turn, what you do as a bicyclist, and then also drivers that are coming up, if they're going to go in front of you or whatever, how does that have to happen?
Right. As a cyclist, you have to let vehicles around you know what you're going to do. You don't want to make unexpected decisions. That's what causes accidents. Okay. Same like in a car. You don't want to switch lanes without signaling your lane change. Let the people know what you're going to do. So you have to use hand signals to approach when you approach the intersection, make the turn, get out of the turn. Now, as a vehicle approaching an intersection, especially what I see a lot is if I'm in the right lane riding, a car has to make a right turn, maybe at the intersection right in front of me. They will pass me to the left and immediately cut back in and shoot to the right real quick, thinking that they can make the turn and get ahead of me. Well, I've almost been hit several times because cars cut over in front of me and don't realize that I'm still moving and just misjudge the speeds.
Okay. And part of that's just a general courtesy too that they're not giving you.
Exactly.
Same thing with a left-hand turn. You have to obey the law. Do you have to move over to that left-hand turn lane to make a left turn?
Yes. You have to go, if it's a two-lane road, you have to go over into the inside lane and signal your turn. And then when you get to the intersection, you have to signal your left turn and make the left turn just as if you would if you were in a car. It's the exact same rules.
Okay.
Very recently, I was riding down the service road of Highway 80, and I was nearly struck by an 18-wheeler who just pulled up ahead of me to come to the first exit off the side of the road, which I just happened to be right in front of as well. And other times I have been honked at by enraged motorists who feel that I don't belong on the roads. I've been verbally told that by motorists who have passed me while I was riding my bike on the roads. In the last 3 instances that I've gone riding my bike, there hasn't been one instance that I have been honked at.
There are several challenges of bicycling in Garland today, and really in any city in North Texas. One of the biggest is getting over the fear of cycling with cars on the road. A lot of people are intimidated by the speed and amount of cars on our roads today. If everyone is conscious of sharing the road, the intimidation factor for bicyclists is much lower. We all have to be aware that we're sharing the road with each other. We all have to extend courtesy, cyclists and motorists alike. Always using hand signals to let motorists know what you're going to be doing. You don't want anyone to be surprised what you're going to do. Always be visible, always be predictable. Bicyclists should usually ride in the middle of the lane. This prevents cars from crowding you into the curb and into grates and other hazards, glass, rocks, sand, things that could cause you to have an accident. Motorists need to be aware that bicycles belong on the road, not on the sidewalk, and they are vehicles, and they need to be respected as vehicles.
Robert, let's talk a little bit about courtesy. Just throughout driving and what we see as police officers every single day, if people were courteous to each other, it would certainly knock down a lot of wrecks. Also some of the road rage that we see. I know good and well that you probably see some of that when you're riding a bicycle, and as much as you do. Talk to us a little bit about some of the courtesy tips that we could have as motorists and also cyclists.
Okay. The basic thing is treat others the way you want to be treated. You know, if you see somebody with a signal and you know they want to get in front of you, slow down, give enough space for them to come in. It's kind of common courtesy. Same thing I was saying earlier, signal your intentions. Let people know what you want to do. People are going to be more willing to slow down and let you in if they know you want to, as compared to just trying to wedge over on top of you. It's kind of the world we live in. Everybody's in a hurry. Everybody wants to get there as soon as they can. They don't want to wait any time for any reason. Well, if you're in a wreck, that's going to delay you. If you are in a major wreck and you go to the hospital, you may not ever drive again. You may not ever get there ultimately if you're killed in an accident. So just be aware of what's around you and be courteous. That's the simplest thing we could say.
I was hit by a car last May. On this day, a gentleman was pushing a yellow light on Ferguson and it turned red. And so when I got a green light, I started going. I ended up, the bicycle went under his car. Judging by the police report and how long it took him to stop, he was probably doing about 40 miles an hour, maybe a little bit faster than that. Bicycle went under the car. I went across the hood and into the windshield. My list of injuries was extensive. I had but my bicycle helmet, thank goodness I had it on, was shattered. I still have that. I'm going to hang it on my wall actually, because it's shattered, and I have no doubt that it saved me. I did have a traumatic brain injury. Had some swelling in the front and left quarter of my part of my brain. If you can imagine this, so he's coming this way, I'm going this way. So my left side took the brunt of the impact. Had broken collarbone, both shoulder blades broken, all my vertebrae, all my ribs on this side, 3 ribs on this side, this hip, my pelvis was shattered, my tailbone was broken into several pieces, I think is how they described it. My ribs on this side, where all the ribs were broken, the only way I can describe it is that they look like this, just like like when you pray and you interlock your fingers. That was the way my ribs were. The doctors told my wife, ribs heal. They'll heal right there. And so we tend to just leave them alone because the ribs will just heal. Now, they did warn my wife that with my chest on that side being in that configuration, my lung was collapsed. And they said that my lung was not going to be able to expand and contract the way it's designed to do, and that could turn into an infection risk if the lung doesn't do what it's designed to do. So that lung might have to come out at some point.
You know, some of the statistics show us that some of these wrecks that happen, in fact, almost 75%, 3/4 of the wrecks that happen between a cyclist and a car, one or the other or both were at fault so far as obeying the traffic laws. That means the cyclist wasn't obeying the laws along with the vehicle. So again, knowing the laws, paying attention, and that common courtesy thing. Then also, some 60% involve children. We are in the summertime. There's going to be a lot more kids out. And it's not just in the summer because kids ride their bicycles to school. The very last thing that you want to happen is to be involved in an accident that a cyclist is involved and either injured severely or may end up costing their life. So take just that extra minute, that extra few seconds, be courteous.
I would like to encourage anyone who wishes to try to get involved into riding a bike, to maybe supplement short distance errands. People living in Garland can look to have their basic needs met within the city of Garland, rather than feeling that they need to get in a car and drive to an adjacent city to have services rendered or have a need taken care of. It makes the community rely on each other rather than relying on maybe a larger city or relying on an area that's outside the city of Garland.
These trails and on-street facilities and education on cycling with traffic will go a long way towards making Garland and the Metroplex much more bike friendly. Unfortunately, there's a lot of accidents between cyclists and motorists, and Dallas County is one of the worst in the country. Please be careful.
One of the things that we really want to get over to you, the viewer, is a lot of the bicyclers. Cyclists know what to do, and they know the rules, and a lot of them obey those rules, especially when you see them riding in packs. They do that, first of all, for camaraderie, to get together, but also for bicycle safety. Usually in groups, it's more safe. But what we want to do in Garland is make it safe for everybody that's on a bicycle. First, that the cyclist is doing what they're supposed to do for their safety rules, and also us as motorists, that we're doing what we should do to obey the laws. And again, paying attention, driving ahead of where you are, not driving just right in front of you, but looking down the road, looking for cyclists, looking for something that's going on. We find that many times we will have wrecks, and sometimes when we've got people stopped, that people will almost hit us as police officers that are lit up because they're not paying attention down the road. So again, today we want to inform you that the bicycle lanes, the bicycle routes are increasing through Garland. That's going to continue through 2014. We expect that program to finish up around the end of this year, and that is going to be a more common thing that you'll see cyclists riding their bicycles through the city. We just want you to be safe, keep our cyclists safe, so we can have a safe city.
Joe, you know the saying, if you build it, they will come? That is true with cyclists.
Yeah.
If you give us a route, we will be on that route, without a doubt. So the more routes that are available, the more cyclists you will see on the road.
Okay. Again, any questions that you may have concerning this, feel free to call the police department. You can call me at my line at 972-485-4868. We can also supply you with a route map that the city is putting through the city. Again, it's with signage that's on the side of the road. Also, it's on signage on the roadway where you'll see a picture of a bicycle, and that is informing you that that is a bike route to help remind you for bicycle safety and also safety as you drive through the city. I want to thank you again for joining us for another edition of CrimeWatch. Certainly appreciate Officer Duncan coming in, giving us his expertise today on bicycle riding. He does so much of it. Couldn't get any better expert opinions and information than we did from Robert. And again, please drive safely, pay attention to the roadway, and again, thank you one more time for joining us on CrimeWatch.